Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we got ourselves another comic book haul to flip through here today. Just a casual go through some books, talk to you guys about, the current state of the market, and ultimately talk about this idea of buying now, speccing later. Buying now, speccing later, just finding good deals out there and not worrying too much about, them tripling overnight because of some movie spec. Because in this current market, there are no guarantees of books getting hot out there. You just got to pick up Bagman books and hope for the best. So buy now, spec later. But before I get into the haul, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, and I would appreciate it. All right, so I was able to go around, this last week or so, pick up some books at the LCSs, just kind of see what is out there. Probably going to be my last comic haul of the year, I would suspect. I mean, we're, quickly approaching 2023. Can you guys believe it? And I was able to pick up a very, very cool book, starting off with this one right here. This one, of course, is Tomb of Dracula, #1, first appearance of Dracula. You can see right there, the price sticker was $135, but it was 20% off. A lot of deals going on in those LCSs, which is really, really nice. So I was able to pick this one up for, what is the math there? 108 or whatever. So definitely a really good pickup. This one probably nets out to be about a VG copy. This is a really great book, a really cool book. I love the monster covers, a classic sort of Neil Adams cover. And this was definitely one that has been spec'd on for quite a while out there in the market. A lot of people were thinking that, with the addition of Blade into the MCU, with the possibility of the Midnight Suns, we were going to be getting Dracula in some kind of way. I remember the rumors that were going around that Anthony Starr was, effectively going to be playing Dracula in the MCU, or that was going to be a San Diego Comic-Con announcement. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition, but I still think that that is a really good book out there. And that kind of ultimately makes me think about the thumbnail of the video, the idea of the buying now and speccing later. It's like, for me, when I'm out there, if I just see a great book like this being sold at a great price, I'm just going to buy it. And if it turns out that we get Dracula, in the MCU and the book goes up in value at that point, then great. That's going to be an added bonus. But, I'm not so concerned with this idea of speccing on it so hard now. I mean, I'm ultimately just trying to find those good deals and letting the books come back to you. Well, speaking of good deals, this next book I got right here is another monster book, but this is one that I've actually never owned before. And this one right here is The Monster of Frankenstein, #1, another Bronze Age kind of horror book. 20-cent cover right here. Just another cool kind of first appearance of the character known as Frankenstein. Of course, we've had a lot of speculation like the Dracula one, a lot of the other monster books. I mean, we've had Werewolf by Night already in the MCU. A lot of people thinking that maybe we're going to see all those universal monsters like Frankenstein right here. There's the Supernatural Thrillers book that has the first appearance of the Mummy. There's the Legion of Monsters book that has Mamphibian. That one is a magazine. So I find all of these sort of Bronze Age horror books to be very, very interesting. And I was actually able to pick this one up for a whopping $12. I mean, granted, it is not a high grade copy at all. This would definitely net out to probably be like I would guess like a 3.5 or so. But, happy to add it to their collection. I mean, $12, you can't really go wrong with a price like that. And it is something that I will buy every single time I find it. All right, this next book I got right here is just a classic cover. I feel like this is one of those books that just everybody likes to have it in their collection, and there is a little bit of spec factor, but the book I'm talking about is Fantastic Four #112, the classic Hulk versus Thing cover. Enough said right there, as you can see. And this one is just a great one to have in the PC, great one to have in the collection. Now, obviously, as you guys can see, this one is pretty beat up overall. A lot of spine ticks there, definitely low grade copy, which is why it was being sold for $10. But for $10, even being whatever you would call this, like a 2.0 or whatever the case is, I still think that it is worth a pickup. I will definitely buy this book every single time I see it. I mean, I feel like at some point in the future, we're going to be getting this battle, right? I feel like it's only a matter of time before we see a Thing versus Hulk battle. I mean, imagine how great of a moment that is going to be for MCU fans and comic book collectors to see those guys go head to head against each other. This is not the first time they've battled. I think that distinction goes to Fantastic Four #12, and I think they would battle a few times after that. But this is one of the all-time great covers. I absolutely love this one. If you can find those in high grade, with being that all-black cover, I mean, that's when the prices really, really get crazy. But anytime I see that book, I will buy it every time. And speaking of buying comic books, let's take a moment to talk about the sponsor of this video, Torpedo Comics. Now, for those who don't know, Torpedo Comics is one of the best LCSs in the country. They are based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, but they even have locations in the Southern California area as well. I'm able to frequent their store from time to time, but if you're not able to go to their locations, you can shop online at torpedocomics.com. They got all sort of goodies here. They got slabs, they got raw comics, they got mystery boxes if you like that. They even have trading cards, but for me, I like to keep it to the comic books here. So if I click over to like the CGC stuff, I can see they got all sort of goodies here. They got modern stuff. They got signature books. They even have some of these mega grails like Giant Size X-Men #1, AF-15, Fantastic Four #1, and they have this incredible Tomb of Dracula #10 in a 9.6 grade. Talk about Dracula, talk about some monster books. They have it all. And the best part is if you use my promo code SWAGGLEHOSS, which you'll find in the description, you'll be able to save 10% off of your order. So what's not to love about that? I want to thank Torpedo Comics for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into the haul. All right, these next two books are ones that I picked up together, kind of at a 1-2 punch, but these ones right here are ASM number 76 and ASM number 77. Of course, you guys know me. You know I love me some Lizard. I had to pick these ones up. I mean, I feel like ASM books are always going to be desired in the market. Anytime you can find Amazing Spider-Man books, I'd say under number 100. I might even extend that out to under number 130 or so. They're always going to be sought after in the market. I mean, Spider-Man is king when it comes to comic book collectors. So when I saw these sort of low-grade ASM books, this one right here was being sold for $7. This one right here was being sold for $5. I definitely had to add them to the collection, especially since I am a huge fan of the Lizard. He is my favorite Spider-Man rogue gallery villain. Always loved this character. And these are just really cool books to add. I mean, you know, I don't know if comic books are recession proof. You know, we've definitely had that conversation here on the channel. But what I will say is that ASM books always seem to be in demand, always seem to be desired in the market. And a lot of, you know, the data I look over when I talk about those sort of Silver Age indexes and things like that, you know, we see that the ASM books are always doing pretty well, especially the filler books. I mean, you know, a lot of the books that get overhyped or over speculated on definitely have had their pullbacks, but the ASM fill books, people really like to have those, and you have a lot of holders, a lot of collectors who are going to keep the floor values up for those ones. So they are generally safe if we want to have, you know, comic books, or if we want to call any comic book safe. All right, this next book I got right here is probably the second most safest run to buy from, but this one right here is Fantastic Four number 51. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, there are two things going on here. Number one, this is the first appearance of the negative zone. If you guys happen to know your Fantastic Four history, they often explore in the negative zone. That is where Annihilus is from. So you have a little Spec factor there. But number two, this is the classic Stan Lee story, otherwise known as This Man, This Monster, considered one of Stan Lee's better stories he ever wrote. And so this is kind of a iconic Fantastic Four run. Certainly a, you know, probably the premier book to own if you are like a super fan of The Thing, for instance. You know, if you want a great Thing story, this is one of the better books to grab. Found this one for $10. I felt like it was definitely worth picking up at that price point. Just a great kind of Silver Age Fantastic Four book. All right, this next book I got right here is one that definitely brings a smile to my face. Shout out to John out there who got me the Plant Man book. But this one right here is starting to help me get to my completion of the most obscure villains there are. But this one, of course, is Strange Tales number 112, first appearance of the Eel. The character known as the Eel, probably up there with the likes of characters like Asbestos Man and, you know, Paste Pot Pete. Probably not on the level of Paste Pot Pete. Nobody is on the level of Paste Pot Pete. But the Eel is another kind of goofy character out there. Really love these old Strange Tales trade dresses. I didn't like it when they kind of split it into like the Nick Fury, Doctor Strange stuff. I really preferred this. And this is just a cool one to add to the collection. I found this one for $40. Not too bad overall. I mean, it's a very nice looking VG copy. It has very nice gloss on it. And I just really love picking up these books. I mean, you know, when I think about a lot of the kind of sort of minor keys in those early runs like Tales of Suspense and Astonish and Strange Tales, etc., things like that. And we think about these characters like first appearance of Porcupine and Whirlwind and Eel and Plant Man and characters of that nature. I actually find that if you can find pretty good prices for them, usually the floor values of those books hold up pretty well. I mean, generally speaking. I mean, it tends to be that those characters are not overly spec'd on in the market, therefore the prices haven't necessarily been inflated. So the floor values are pretty consistent overall. And what I was talking about at the beginning of this video with this idea of buy now, spec later. I feel like if you can just find good versions of this book, and who's to say, maybe if Eel or Asbestos Man comes into the MCU at some point, you can absolutely go to the moon. All right, this next book I got right here is just a classic sort of Doctor Strange, early Doctor Strange Silver Age book. This one is Doctor Strange number 178. And what is the significance of this? Well, I am pretty sure, I am pretty convinced, you guys can correct me in the comments, that this is actually the first time that Doctor Strange and the Black Knight meet. Now, I don't know about first meetings. A lot of collectors out there I know love their first meetings. I personally don't think that that is that special of a thing, although I do understand that it does make the book a little bit significant. But I've always really enjoyed this cover. I like the green aesthetic. Not very common that you would see this kind of green color palette on books in this time frame. And this is a really interesting one. Certainly, I think that it's possible that we're going to get Doctor Strange and Dane Whitman Black Knight meeting up at some point, and you never really know. I mean, maybe they're going to have an interaction, and this book will get hot in the market. Again, buy now, spec later, I guess. All right, and the last 4 books I got right here are ones that I needed for my Avengers Grail run. I'll just quickly flip through them. I have Avengers number 33 right here, kind of in that time of the Avengers run where I think Gary Conroy was doing the artwork, and you know, it wasn't the greatest. Not my favorite section of the 1 through 100. I got Avengers number 30 here, another book of that kind of run, and then lastly Avengers number 37. Got all these for around, you know, the $10 range or so. And then this last book I picked up was actually an upgrade of my current copy, but this is Avengers number 100. Was able to find this one for $40, and this is a really cool book to me. I mean, it's the first time you see all of the Avengers together, all of them on the cover. Even though it's not like a super key or whatever, I do think that as a collector book for Avengers, it's very satisfying to own this number 100, and it's a very cool cover overall, since it's Barry Windsor Smith that did the cover, and I don't actually think he did many other Avenger covers after that. Well, that is my comic book haul. You know, this idea of buying now, speccing later. When I go out there and I'm looking for books, really to me, I'm just looking for good deals. I mean, of course, every single book I buy is always going to be a book that I love. In case I am left holding the bag, you know, I don't want to have books that I don't actually like in my collection. But these adages that I often throw out to you guys, which is like, let books find you, or just find good deals, or buy now, spec later, I really do stand by, because I think in this current market, this current economy, the only way to really guarantee, you know, having returns on books is to buy books that have instant equity on them. I mean, this is why people buy collections where they're getting books at, you know, pennies on the dollar, because that's the only way that they can actually sort of, you know, make money or turn a profit, that they have this sort of instant equity. So the same thing goes for me. I made that video where I talked about my golden rule for buying comic books. I only ever buy comic books that I find that are being sold than the floor price on eBay. And one of the reasons for that is that I don't want to roll the dice and just assume that my speculation on Frankenstein is going to go up in value. I just instantly want to know that when I make this purchase today at the LCS, should I want to, you know, sell it on eBay or turn it around, I will already have that instant equity, and I don't have to wait for some kind of movie spec or some kind of payoff in the MCU. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was my comic book haul. Let me know what you guys think. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. I will see you in the next video.